In this lesson, we're going to place the path of our plane. Okay, so the path of our plane is located right here, plane path. It's not in that map layers folder. So go ahead and grab that. We're going to drag that down. I want it to be between my plane and my map so that it is obscured by the plane itself but on top of the map. Now I want to rotate this around so that it imitates the rotation of the trajectory that the plane will fly in. So go ahead and open up the rotation property of the plane path by hitting the R key with it selected. And I'm going to just rotate it around just like this. Now I know that right now it doesn't really look like it's very close to what the plane is rotated like. But I'm going to be changing something here in a moment that will make a big difference. So grab that plane path again, and we're going to pull it up here so that it is beginning right around the place that the plane is coming out of that corner. Perfect. Okay, and now what I want to do is actually parent this dotted line to the map. And the reason that I want to do this is because you'll notice if we just scrub through here, the dots are just sitting there. They're not moving, so they aren't left behind the plane to create that path. Look. So go ahead and grab your parenting pick whip from the plane path and drop it onto the map. And now you can see that is a little bit closer to the trajectory of the plane. But the plane probably still could stand to be rotated a little bit itself. So let's go ahead and do that. Just grab your plane, hit the R key. Make sure your current time indicator is at the beginning, because if you do end up changing your positioning at all, you're going to have some issues. Now that may have just done it. It looks like it's pretty close. It's a little bit high. So let's move the plane down. And you want to go all the way to the end of your timeline, because that makes a big difference as far as the placement of the keyframe. You don't want it to make an extra keyframe for you. Almost got it. Just a little bit further down. Perfect. Okay, so now the plane is staying on top of the dotted line, and the dotted line is moving with the map. So it's pretty easy to see that that placement, you know, really wasn't that difficult. You just have to adjust a few things to get that into position. But one thing that you must keep in mind is that the plane path needs to be rotated somewhere around 125 degrees. If you do it in the other direction, where it'll come out to somewhere around negative 53 degrees, you're going to run into problems, because we are basically rotating, well, just because I drew this, I know this, and you wouldn't really know if you hadn't created the asset, but this corner right here is where I started when I drew this path in Illustrator. And so by rotating it down this way, the effect that we use in the next lesson works a lot better. If you rotate it the other way, then the starting point would be up here, and so the dot 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 that's going to come out from behind the plane is not going to look right. It's still going to look like it's kind of floating and just look a little bit off. So you want to make sure that you've rotated it in the same way that I have. You're at 125 degrees, and I can even bring up the placement by holding Shift P, and you can see what the position of the plane path is as well. And that's something we haven't really talked about yet. If you want to bring up a different transformation property besides one that you already have, hold down the Shift key and then hit the keyboard shortcut for the property you want to add, and then you can look at just the position and the rotation together. Perfect. Okay, so now that we have placed this and rotated it into position, in the next lesson we're going to be using the Add menu in our basically in an After Effects layer type to create animation on this path. So we'll have to do a couple of things to get it into position and change a few things up. But now that we have this placed, we can move on to actually animating it, because right now it's not animating along with the plane. It's just kind of sitting there. So in our next lesson, we'll move on to that animation so it looks more realistic.